taking that beautiful moment before bed to say, I felt really seen by you today, or I felt respected by you today, or I just felt, God, I felt desired by you today. To give,
Or simply, I love you today.
yeah, thank you for giving me a day. I barely got to see you, but we're in
Yeah.
this together. Finding that place of how do I love me? How do I love you? How do I let you love me? It's a beautiful dance. And as long as you will recognize it's a beautiful dance, sometimes we mess up the steps. Sometimes we step on each other's foot. Sometimes we fall. And
Now,
that's the relationship.
hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people that are wondering, okay, where's Prince George in Canada? In British Columbia in particular, British Columbia, big province, we are about 500 miles north of Vancouver, and the center, exact center of British Columbia, beautiful province, and all those kind of things. Today's a very special day because we got a special guest, Dr. Heather Browne, and Heather has been. I can call you Heather. Heather.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Heather has been with us before. This is our podcast 240, and I believe you were with us in 204. Now, Heather is very unique. She has a new book out that we'll be talking about, and it is Speaking with the Heart. And here is the actual book, and we'll talk about that a lot. But Heather has an amazing background as a psychotherapist for many years, and for the last 25 years, and is a mother, but she's also very special in a whole lot of other areas that she will be talking about. Has been on the media of all kinds of different descriptions, is very vibrant and very thoughtful. She is a keynote speaker and an all-around friend now, and a very special guest. Heather, welcome to the show.
I am honored to be here. Thank you very much.
So, just for our guest, Heather, where are you located physically?
I'm in Southern California. I'm in Orange County near Disneyland. Most people know where Disneyland is.
Oh yeah,
So between
and it's
LA and San Diego.
it's beautiful. How's the weather today?
Today's gray and
Yeah,
soft. We've had a
right.
very interesting winter. Yesterday was glorious, so every day is a little different. Today's right now is gray. Probably burn off into a lovely afternoon and hopefully a gorgeous sunset.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your past and psychotherapy in particular. But is it in? But how did you get there? So just go back from were you from Southern California, or just tell us a bit about your background, education, and then we'll work our way to today.
Sure. I grew up in this beautiful area of the Santa Monica foothills in Los Angeles. Absolutely gorgeous. Deer in the backyard, owls. It was an angelic place in nature to live. My mom
Beautiful.
was a paranoid schizophrenic, and so being in a place that was so extraordinarily gorgeous was very calming and healing for her mind and her body. And close enough to the beach that we could sneak off and find shells and sea crabs and all sorts of lovely things. My parents worked very hard to be able to actually have the house built for us, and we lived there for years. My mom struggled in and out my whole childhood, and I got to see how challenging relationship can be and how challenging it can be for some people just to exist in this
Did you
world.
have siblings as well, or?
I have an older sister, Christiane, and very artistic, very creative. Um, she was old enough to kind of disappear and have the rebel life in the teenage years, and I was younger, so I was home kind of trying to keep mom afloat. My dad was a
Right.
workaholic so that we could stay home and not lose the house. My mom didn't work, she wasn't able to work.
Right.
Um, And she killed herself when I was 16, which of course was massively impactful. And it really
Oof.
showed how fragile life is and how fragile
Oof.
the mind is and how
Yeah.
fragile relationships are and love. And I wanted to learn, how do I do this better than my mom and dad were able to? They both came from really, really hard backgrounds. My dad was depression. He was World War II. He was in a sanitarium for TB throughout World War II. My mom was World War II, paranoid schizophrenic. I mean, they really did amazingly well for the childhoods they had. And they tried so hard to give my sister and I a beautiful childhood. And they succeeded in so many ways. So I tried to gather up all the beauty of that. And then I tried to figure out, how do I deal with the fact that my mom killed herself? How do I deal with the fact that, I was abused? How do I deal with the fact that I was disowned in the construct of everything and not be completely lost in the hard? And so I did a lot of personal work and I wanted to give back. And so I worked in a group home for throwaway teenage girls for 6 years, the age range where I really didn't have much of a childhood. I wanted to give back to them and was deeply in my own psychotherapy and reading lots and lots and lots of self-help books. I started off with Leo Buscaglia's Love, and kept healing
So
and
you
healing and
were you were around the early 20s then, Heather, when you those 6 years, and yeah,
right after college. So I
yeah,
wanted to be an actress, and so
right.
I was working as a hostess, working in the group home, auditioning for shows, but I'm 6 feet tall, and so there really wasn't that much possibility for me. So I did some modeling, but I I loved working in the psych field, and I'm very close with God. And so one day he like slapped me on the side of my head and said, instead of being someone who you are not, how about you help people be who they are supposed to be? And I didn't have an answer other than that sounded lovely. So I reached out to master's programs and said, I need a scholarship. And they all said, yeah, we don't do that. And one beautiful institute said, talk to us. Why should we do this? Why will you be a wonderful therapist? And I spent an hour with the president just sharing my life. And I said, I'll do anything and everything that's legal or respectable to have a scholarship. And Al gave me one. And he said, just be a great therapist. And it was such a gift. And I've remembered that. Those angels who come through into your life, you're one of them. Those
Amazing,
angels
right? Yeah.
come through and just see that gift.
Yeah. And so, for our guests that are watching us, a psychotherapist, what does that really mean in terms of the direction? What does it indicate? Is saying that I have a interaction or a consultation with a psychotherapist. What do we expect?
Well, there's different specialties, of course, and I'm
Okay.
largely relationship. I'm largely couples work. Um, I do a lot of individual work. I don't work with little children. I work a lot with grief and loss. But there'll be people who are addiction specialists. There'll be people who are finance specialists. The people who are sexual addiction specialists. But basic, what it is, it's someone who is highly skilled, highly educated, and you have to pass licensure, which is very rigorous, fortunately, because it needs to be, to
Yeah.
make certain that they have a very good, thorough grasp of how to work with a particular situation, having a great resource of exercises and tips and techniques and success in that, and can guide you through the process. So when I was having a miscarriage, my husband and I were struggling because it was very hard for me emotionally, and he didn't understand because it wasn't coming out of his body. He wasn't going through the hormonal. So we went to someone who specialized in the loss of a child.
Yeah.
And so that psychotherapist, that was her specialty. Mine is largely with loving yourself, loving your partner, loving your relationship, and then dealing with grief and loss. Those are the areas that I'm an expert.
Right. And looking at your book is is understanding relationships that between individuals, but in particular in life partners in those areas. Now, the other part that which is a very, very important topic, because in a lot of cases, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I kind of feel from my experience, that I'm married for 40 years to my wife Sharon, and deeply in in love and all of those kind of things. But initially, it doesn't come natural. These that to have a relationship, and you're falling in love for all the reasons of that people fall in love, and then after have a relationship for whatever duration that may be, then the next step is you get married, and then which is an immensely joyful event, and then reality starts, because in most cases you're two different individuals that are going to spend a whole lot of time together doing a whole lot of stuff. That means that dealing with all the realities of relationships, of everybody has opinions that may be different, managing money, and all those other things that are so delicate.
Well, it's the joining that becomes, I think, the struggle for most of us. Most of
Right.
us are pretty good at falling in love. Most
Yeah.
of us are pretty good at having sex and going on dates and having vacations and
Yeah.
maybe even planning a wedding. But
Yeah.
but the part that starts to become hard, I find, is that we are very much our own person living our own life. And then
Right.
when we fall in love with someone, here's this beautiful person who just wants to adore us. That's easy.
Yeah.
But what happens after the wedding, or what happens after you've been with someone for a while, is they really want you to keep coming through for them.
Yeah.
And there's this place of finding that balance of, well, I've got some time that I've got to take care of me, and my needs are important. And what I want in my trajectory of my life is also important. And yes, of course, I also want to love you, lift you up, be with you. But it's finding that balance of, how do I not lose myself? How do I not resent you? How do I allow myself to receive from you? And how do I also love you dearly? And we struggle with that. Part of it is part of it is the split between, we all want to be taken care of. We all want to be loved. Most of us want to be loved more than we want to love another. And that starts to become a challenge in a committed relationship. If both
So
people are doing it, wonderful. But if one partner's not that good at it, or doesn't care that much about caring for you, there starts to be some resentments there, because it's not really balanced. And it's not normally intentional. It's normally the other person, it just isn't aware. And that's why in my book, I talk so much about love languages, and every single day, what is it that you came through with for your partner? Or where did they not feel that you did? And taking that beautiful moment before bed to say, I felt really seen by you today, or I felt respected by you today, or I just felt, God, I felt desired by you today. To give,
or simply, I love you today.
yeah, thank you for giving me a day. I barely
Yeah.
got to see you, but we're in
Yeah.
this together. Finding that place of, how do I love me? How do I love you? How do I let you love me? It's a beautiful dance, and as long as you will recognize it's a beautiful dance, sometimes we mess up the steps. Sometimes we step on each other's foot. Sometimes we fall, and
Now,
that's the relationship.
if I start out with, I'm nearly 84, and so I've been around for a while, and obviously in relationships, and I was married once before, and then with my current wife, we've been together for more than 40 years, and I still have good memories of my first marriage, and unfortunately, entrepreneurship is sometimes very, very hard on relationships. But that being said, I have only good memories of that part. But and 2 daughters, actually, which we love dearly. So if in all the years that I've been around, and obviously relationships are always part of that, very much so, is that if I say I must understand, it is helpful to understand, nobody owes me happiness. And I don't owe anybody else happiness. I cannot make you, if you're not a happy person, the relationship be not for the purpose of make you, my partner, a happy person. It is important to maintain individuality and to maintain your own entity. And I maybe don't frame it correctly in the way that I understand that I don't, in a relationship, that person doesn't owe me to make me happy. That's my role to make sure. And then it is also our role together to make sure that we work closely together, and that all the things that are delicate, and to understand the other person in that relationship well, and trust them, and all those other things that are so important.
It's a brilliant truth that you share. And I think most people, I think we cognitively know it, but I don't think we really are in relationship in that way. Because what you'll hear people say all the time is, you made me mad, you made me sad, you're not thrilling me the way you're supposed to thrill me. I'm just not happy when I'm with you. Don't I deserve to be happy? And there's a place to pull yourself back and look at that and think, wow, like I am making you responsible for my life. That's risky. It's also way too much weight on the other person. But if you go to the other side and say, now, wait a second, this is my life. And I get to decide for myself how I'm going to feel about me. You can have your thoughts, you can have your feelings, you can have your beliefs, your personality, all of that. But it's up to me to decide, how am I impacted by that? How do I allow that to affect me or change me? When you think about, if you're with someone who's gone through, let's say, cancer or a horrible accident or maybe depression, it's important that you don't get lost in the other person's emotional experience. When you do, you're both in trouble, because if the other person is really sad and you let yourself fall down into that because they are, now no one's going to help anybody.
No?
Now, it's not your role to get the person out of their sadness. That's their role. But as a partner, I think it is a beautiful thing to have compassion that they're there, to ask, can you encourage them, support them in things that they can do to take care of themselves? And would they receive a little bit of magic, a little bit of light, a little bit of love to try to help? But you can't take away somebody else's emotional experience, thought process, belief, actions, unless they choose to alter it themselves.
Now, the other part, Heather, correct me if I am wrong, but I believe that is the case, is that sometimes we need help in relationships and guidance. Now, men are not overly good at opening up their emotions necessarily, but to have the courage to do that is extremely important. And it's more so now than in the past, possibly. People would not gladly admit, so we had counseling or anything like that, but in a lot of cases, it's extremely important to do that, and it's certainly not to have a relationship that is well understood by both parties in terms of all the elements that we are talking about. It makes life so much better, and to allow to seek counseling for purposes is very, very important. The other part that I find is that your book in particular, and that's why I find so unique about your book, speaking with the heart, is just going through it, and the way it was written deals with all those topics that are critically important to an individual and individuals is that you have such an amazing background and experience also in life already that deal with all the critical elements that are important to a person and an individual, and to then complement that by your training and education. That at what point did you decide? And I know you wrote other books on poetry and all the other areas, and you've been published a lot and have been very active in the media. But this book in particular touches on a lot of areas that are very critical in somebody's life. And so when did you come up with the idea, that's what I need to do and to put it out? And I know from my experience, I'm an author and I'm working on my fourth or fifth book, and writing books is not easy. You
No,
know.
no, it takes
And
a lot of
but
time.
but I've seen of it so far, of this book, it's amazing, outgoing, deals with all the issues that are so critical in life, and the way you put it together is amazing. The from all the different chapters, the lifelong language, giving and receiving, attachment styles. Let's play. You don't have to fight and anxiety. What's trying to stay you in the wisdom, resistance, fear. Sex is part of sex and making time, and all those elements are part of this book, which gives. I've not seen anything like this that is so well laid out and that deals with all those critical issues.
Oh, thank you. And that's why I wrote it. It's been something that clients have told me for 27 years. Heather, where's your book? You need to write a book. And there's a lot of people who don't necessarily need therapy. They might really have a lovely relationship. They might work through a lot of things very well, but there's so many little beautiful things you can do to just polish it a little bit, or check in differently. And so what I found is I would be repeating some of the same information and language with client after client after client after client. And finally, when COVID hit, I thought, Heather, it's time. You
Yeah.
can't go out and do things. You can't date because I'm a widow. You're not going to be able to be hanging out with friends. Why don't we write this book? And so that was the point. And my idea was, I want to write a book for somebody who I will probably never meet and will probably never be in my office, but they really respect their relationship. They know they can make it better. They want to make it better. And they want to find those beautiful things that they might not ever know. I'm called the Reframe Queen in Orange County. And it's because I can take a situation, I can take a challenge, and I can help someone find the knowledge they need to have in that, and then look at it differently, and then use the experience to help them instead of getting bogged down for a long time. And so that's why it was important for me to write the book with the exercises pretty much for every single chapter, because I wanted to walk the couple, or if it's an individual reading it, the individual through the process. We all watch YouTubes, we all watch videos, we all buy books that say, now you know what to do, go do it. And we don't. But there was a moment in raising my kids where my son had made a mistake with something, and we were all watching it. And Ted started to say, well, next time do this, do this. And I said, well, why don't we just do it now? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, why don't we have Mac redo it the way that we think it will work better so that he knows how to do it? And so we did. And afterwards he said to me, why did you do that? And I said, well, okay, in my head, I don't know how to do something. You tell me how to do it. And then next time I come to that situation, I'm supposed to not do it the way I would do it. I'm supposed to think about how you told me to do it, and I'm supposed to try to do it. I said, that just sounds way too hard. How about we just do it now? And then when I come to that situation again, I can say, oh, I did this last time. Let's do that again. That worked. And so I wanted to do the exact same thing for my readers. Let me walk you through. So the responsibility isn't on you to figure this out, 100% on me. Your responsibility is to do the exercises and to read the book and to show up in that place. And from working with people for all these years, I've learned beautiful ways to help people honor, respect, and love each other and how to get to those conversations. If you know that we all want to be loved and we all want our relationship to work, then there's a whole lot of things that we're saying. There's a whole lot of things that we're doing that damage that. And
Yeah.
so I think kindly and firmly highlight that. Like, let's look at what you're saying. You don't love me anymore. Like, that's something that you'll never hear come out of my mouth because I don't want that to be my truth. Is there something I could do to help you love me more? I'll say that. But
Yeah.
there's so many little teeny refinements that can change your relationship massively. And I just wanted people around the world to have the opportunity to glean that without needing to go through life without knowing. One of the best things I tell clients to do is a little before bedtime, say to your partner, whether it's on the phone, and you can do it with your child, you can do it with a friend. Is there a place that I missed you today? Is there a place that I didn't show up for you today? And would you let me like rectify that now? And then to say, where did you feel the most seen? Where did you feel the most respected or loved? And would you let yourself receive it a little bit more deeply right now? If you
Yeah.
do that every single day, whatever kind of relationship it is, that other person can't say you're not working on it. That other person can't say you're not offering, you're not trying. And so that's a growing, healing, maturing, blossoming, improving relationship. And I want that with all of mine. So friends and family have an open door with me to say, Heather, I need to share something with you that is causing me to pull back from you. I'm like, please let me know. I don't want to be doing something that's getting in the way. I
Right.
don't take it as a criticism. I
No.
take it as an invitation to help them feel more loved.
Yeah, the interesting part I find is and relationship is on all our minds and has been. It's all part of life, and it's probably one of, correct me if I am wrong, the least understood and to find guidance that we can go to a bookstore and look in the section on that has talks about relationships, lifestyles, or whatever it is, and then pick up a book and then then somebody would be looking for guidance maybe in that form and go through the book and you can't find what you're looking for, and so and that's the difference with you in this book in particular, because it allows somebody not having to read the entire book, but just looking at the chapters will give you guidance as to where, to at least start to get a beginning at something that will help change somebody's outlook in some areas and be very, very helpful. And that's why I think your book is so unique.
Thank you. You bring up something that I have not quite known how to express. So thank you for this. This is a gift you've just given me. Here's the difference, I believe, and I think this will resonate with what you're saying. We go to a book, we go to a person to try to understand our relationship or our partner. My book isn't about that. My book is about going to your person to try to understand them.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly.
Because the reason we can't really understand relationship is relationship doesn't include the person. And so what my book guides you is help me understand what you need. Help me understand what your fears are. Why is it you get triggered in this way? What is that about? What happened in your childhood that I need to understand to be a little bit more respectful here? Or I realize that this is a place that's difficult for you. How can I help you right now feel stronger within yourself? So, what my book does, and that's why it's called Speaking with the Heart, is it guides people to care about the person that they are with, care about trying to strengthen that connection, and then from there, stepping into the conversation. We do it backwards. We start with words, throw them out there, hope we do it somewhat well, hope the person receives it well, and then when they don't, we're like, "Oh, you're so difficult." I do it the opposite. I start with, "You're really important to me, and I want this conversation to go well. And there's some places I'm a little concerned about. Can we talk about those? Like, I
Exactly.
sometimes feel like I'm not seen. So in this conversation, like, I need you to put the phone down. And can you look into my eyes? Can we
Exactly.
go through this slowly?" And so, how do you work with that individual in their strengths and weaknesses to develop a better way of communicating with them? And then, how do you pace it? Because so much of what goes wrong in conversations is we get caught in our own head, we get caught in our own thoughts. We're not even listening to the other person. I heard something brilliant the other day from Simon Sinek, and he said, when you're in a boardroom, when do you offer to speak? And he said, offer last. And in the business world, that's probably well known. Just a person, I went, last. Why is that? And he said something brilliant. He said, you show every single person around that boardroom that they're important to you, that you care about their viewpoint. You want to know what they think and what they feel. And I went, okay, that's brilliant. And then he said something key. He said, you also know all of their wishes and their needs. So you can take all of the information. And then when you present, you can say, 85% of you are most concerned with this. So we're going to attend to that.
Exactly.
15% of you also brought up this. So we've got to figure a way to weave that in.
Yeah.
And my goal is to make certain we do. And I went, oh my gosh, if we
Yeah.
took that same belief into our normal conversations, I want to come through for you. So I need to really know what you think, feel, and want.
Right.
I will also present my wishes, my thoughts, my desires as well. But if I listen to you, I care about your thoughts, then I can join mine where they connect. And I can also say, but there's this one part where we don't quite match up. So let's figure that out together. A conversation where you find out where you join makes it much easier to then look at the places where you don't. If you turn it into, we don't think the same thing, now we're falling apart. Now we're split. Now it's adversarial. Instead of, where do we come together? Where do we connect? And
Exactly.
where do we need to go where we don't quite yet? Brilliant.
And the point that you're making, I believe, is very close to my heart. Is that that becoming a good communicator is very, very important. But
With
what is even
yourself too.
more important is becoming a good listener. And that's critically important. It's actually one book that I'm starting to. Then, can I show you one of the books that I'm doing? And I probably show you this. The one that I'm working on right now is coming out in July. It's being edited right now as we speak, and it is the Living Young, Dying Old.
Look
And
at the cover. That is fantastic.
you like it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's
So,
inspiring.
and the point that I'm making there is that age, and I will be 84 on November the 1st, so I'm 83 and a half. So age is just a number. It's quality of life that is the importance. And the individual has to make choices. And
Yes.
it's never too late. That's the one part of it. The other one is the sooner you start, the easier it becomes. Your body is absolutely unbelievably unique. It doesn't want you to be unhealthy, but you have to help. And if you abuse it, then it will only take time until it cannot help anymore. And then that's why for a lot of people, they believe that the last decade of your life is the worst one, because then all those symptoms that you have developed by abusing your body are coming to the foreground. And it doesn't have to be that way. Is that and that particular book deals with that, about sleep is very important. Sugar is one of the key issues in terms of not being healthy, and and exercise is important, and both mentally and physically, staying active and connected. Now, the and again, your book comes into the picture here. Is that relationships critically important, and then the other part that are important to me is that I always say in my book, and I probably showed you this before, when I came here to Canada, I had $25.47, couldn't speak the language, didn't know soul, didn't have a job. But what I did have is I had a positive attitude, avoid the negative, no matter how tough today is. I know tomorrow will be better, and passion. Whatever I do, I give it 150%. And then work ethic is that I usually get up at 5:30 in the morning, and I always think I'm late, and I'm almost full of energy, and every day to me is a beautiful day. All those things in combination are important. But the book is that, and that's why I wrote the book, is that you don't have to necessarily, I do bodybuilding and physique and a number of other things, but the point is stay physically active, even if you only walk 20 minutes a day, half an hour if you can, more if you want to, but at least stay active, and then be more understanding of diet. In my case, my wife is vegetarian. I'm vegan, probably. I call myself 80-20, but mainly use plant-based diets, and and then organic, preferably very knowledgeable about, or need information about the food that we take and that we eat, and then make life very pleasurable at the same time, and staying physically. In my case, I like to go to the gym, and I like to have a goal. So I'm bodybuilding physique, and I believe I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder virtually in North America. But certainly in Canada, and I love it. And even now, I'm getting ready for competing in 2025 when I'm 85. And so the point that I'm making, everything is possible.
And they parallel so beautifully, that commitment that you have to living a healthy life for yourself, honoring your body, honoring your health, honoring the luxuriousness of life and exercise. My book does the same thing with honoring your relationship, honoring your heart, honoring the health of your relationship. And there's a diet. There's a diet of making certain that you play. There's a diet that's making certain that you have time to sit down and talk and connect and have sex. There's exercises that you need to do to keep yourself fit and alive, be it for a relationship or be it for your body. And when you take in that mindset, either way, it opens up the door to want to do that in all ways. Because when you're feeling better in your body, when you're feeling better within your energy, you're then going
Everything.
to want your relationship and want to work on work. And when you're madly in love with your partner, oh my gosh, you don't want to, you just want to get rid of all the crap in your life and have life be beautiful. So
Exactly.
it's a celebration of relationship, of life, of food, of this
All of that.
beautiful, beautiful gift that we're
Yeah.
given called life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we all want to, look good. We don't want to look like, we're ready to fall over anytime. We don't want to be active. It feels so good when you get up in the morning and all of a sudden, I got that, this, that, and the other thing to do. It's just so exciting. And then, the other part for me is I fly around a lot. Actually, this afternoon I'm flying to Victoria. So I'm in Central British Columbia, and then we have a place in Victoria. My wife is in North Saanich, and so at 1 o'clock I get a flight. At 3:30 I will arrive there, and then when I fly commercial direct flight, I always sit by the window and I look outside. It says paradise. It's paradise. We, as you already indicated, in Orange County, southern part of California, it's a beautiful, beautiful area, and we are so lucky and so fortunate.
I tell myself that every single day. And I know at the end of my life, you know, my experience is that I will join with God and join with all who have passed over. But my thought is at the end of the life, God's going to say to me, "So what'd you think?" And I'm just going to say, "Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you that you gave me this most glorious experience. And thank you that you let me be Heather. Like, it's been really fun being Heather." And then he's
yeah,
going to say, "Did you do everything you wanted?" I'm saying, "Oh, hell no, not even close." But I have loved this journey. And I want to say that on my last breath. Thank you for this glorious journey. It's been hard. It's been a lot of work. There's been a lot that's been difficult to deal with. And yet, I have so appreciated what I have learned and what I have been blessed with. And gosh, all that I have. I am so blessed. I'm so protected, so loved, so deeply blessed. And
and,
that
and
just comes from receiving, letting yourself receive what it is.
yeah,
That is,
and at the
it's a joy.
same time, Heather, and already the background of my story is that going through difficult times, you went through a tough, tough go with your mom and your dad and the family, and then obviously your mom commit suicide. That devastating, and it could have all turned you in a different direction, but obviously that has become, as I feel for me, the difficult and the challenges along the way, became the foundation that allowed me to do today what I can do. And at the same time, every day to me is a good day. And
Well, it's
and
the core of who you are. It's the core of who you are, but there's a choice there. Because I remember someone coming up to me at my mom's funeral and saying to me, she said, "Don't let this harden you." And I remember looking at her thinking, "What?" But 2 years later, when life had gotten really hard, I was on my own after high school and trying to figure out how do you make it in the world, putting yourself through the world at 18. It was a lot. And I remember thinking, "Oh, I
critical
could have.
age. Yeah,
I could have. I could have gotten
yeah,
very hardened, very
exactly.
resentful, very
Yeah,
angry." And that is a gift that I think I was given at birth, which is hold on as much as you can to joy, to light, to what is beautiful. Because from your story, you so easily could have too. And
yes.
yet, not letting that destroy you and take you down. Look at what you lift up now. Look what you show the world in the image of who you are, lifting up all those experiences, lifting up all those challenges, holding them strongly within you for that victory, for that bodybuilding, weight lifting icon of a man against all odds. Like, that is glorious. I'm
And
so honored to know you because you're such an inspiration.
yeah, but at the same as I feel now it didn't take me to the wrong direction, but rather now I feel I have an obligation to share it with others. Hence, this book, Against All Odds, is not about hurrah, hurrah, how successful John is, but going through all the ups and downs, falling down, standing up, staying the course, and and then always believe that tomorrow will be a better day and stay optimistic, positive, and then sharing with others. And the other book I'm quickly going to show you is the one that I was affected by, or benefited by actually. Took me till I was 1997, when I was already 57 years old, when I went into a store and I picked up a book, and the book's title was Driven to Distraction. It was written by Dr. Halliwell. And as I still don't know why I picked up the book. And as I looked in the book, it was about ADHD. And I said, oh my God, that's me. And I wrote in the book in Dutch, now I finally know who I am, ADHD.
Oh,
And the interesting part is the book was written, and you as an author, me as an author, and then that book, I still have it. I bought in the store here in 1997, wore it virtually out, reading it, and then better understanding about ADHD and the people that were benefiting from my opinion, but then it was a lot of stigma attached to it, and and then the better I understood it, I called it a superpower. And a lot of people say to me, how can you do all this stuff? You have 10 companies, and then you write, and you podcast, and you speaker, do all that. How do you do it? I say, ADHD. And so,
exactly.
and then I felt I had to write a book about it. So I did. ADHD Unlocked. Now, the other part that you may find interesting, and this connects directly to you again, is that being both authors and having that book written by Dr. Halliwell, who wrote 18 books, 5 about distraction, he was on my podcast.
Oh, wonderful.
And the podcast number was 2003. 203. Yours was 204, the first one. So, yeah. And so I had him on my podcast. So if for a guest, if you want to watch, the interview with Dr. Halliwell, he is ADHD and has written several books about it. But it was something that, that I started to understand. And during our podcast, actually, we talked about that when the book that I had bought, I still have it, and and then during my searches, when I found out that I had it, it took me 5 years before I talked to my doc, who was a personal friend, delivered our 2 daughters. I went into his office, and now I was 62, and he said, "Hey, John, why are you here?" I said, "I think I got ADHD." He said, so well, let's look, and yes, I do. And so then I needed to know more about it, and then where it was written that maybe 8% of the population are benefiting, in my mind, from ADHD. I found, no, that number is not right. It's probably closer to 20%. And when I
I think
raised that with Dr. Halliwell, and during that conversation, 204, the podcast, he said, "No, John, it's more than 25%. Now, the other part that I did that you may find interesting is, of all the successful, and the operative here is successful entrepreneurs or CEOs, I believe that probably 50% of them are ADHD. He said, "No, John, more than 75%. And I
well,
said, "Yes, I do."
it's pull and push, and it's the interest in so many different things and wanting to do so much. It's like an artist. They just have to keep on creating. My daughter's an artist. She can't not create. And she
Right,
might be up till 3 in the morning. She might be up till 8 in the morning, but she can't stop. It's like an obsession.
right.
Actually, I want to change that word. It's like this glorious gift that is
Yeah,
pouring out, and you
yeah.
don't want to stop that channel as it's coming through. I'm sure you've had this where the writing feels like it's coming through you. It's not so much I'm writing the word the, it's just
No.
pouring out.
It's
Yeah.
finding that using that superpower. Then once you focus, you're very effective and you stay the course. And because you now found something that works for you and that way you can focus on. Now
Taps
the
you
other
into that glorious power.
yes. Now the other part, the I want to share with our guests from around the world watching us. And I find this amazing. This media and the especially podcasting. And I do a lot of public speaking and being keynote speaker. A lot of times for me, that takes me. I'm not trying to be important, but it takes so much of my time. A lot of times, having to go there and then come back and then we find at the same time this media podcasting. Initially, about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I did more blogging, and then we started with something that kind of looked in a way like podcasting, where we interviewed local people in the area. Then COVID came, and then we started podcasting in the region. And then we said, that didn't work anymore because of COVID. And then we said, well, what do we do now? I had an apartment that is this one here. And said, well, why don't we do it, make it into a studio? So we did. And then I thought, well, maybe what I have to do is set up another studio because there are so many people around here that are very, very interesting. But to broaden the circle, maybe I have to set up another studio in Vancouver. And then we said, well, how about virtual? And the more I watch TV, virtual now has become, there are not the blips that there used to be at one point. That doesn't work, this doesn't work. It's seamless. And so we started that, and there, like this example for us, you and me sitting here, you in Southern California, me in Northern British Columbia. And at the same time, we already know, Heather, I know, and I'm not, again, being egotistic about it, but I believe that tens of thousands of people will be watching us in our conversation. It's
And isn't that
amazing.
curious? And I mean, like my book, I hope to reach, of course, that many, but I might do that with you when this airs.
Right.
And out of those, how many will be deeply blessed? I hope all, but certainly many. And what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That wouldn't
And
have happened otherwise. I would never, ever have an opportunity to meet probably any or most of those people. And now I will. And
and it's
you, because I'm going to put all over my social media, all of the people who follow me, my 20 something thousand people, are going to have the opportunity to get to know you, which I so love because I want the people who are important to me, who inspire me to be blessing all my clients and the people that I know. It's amazing what we're able to do.
and it's still at its infancy. It's still at the beginning. It's global. It goes all over the world. It's so immensely, immensely powerful.
I
You
had
know,
someone who saw me on a podcast and then went to my website, watched my TEDx, bought my book, sent me an email, and said that they were interested in working with me. They'd been working with a psychotherapist for a year and it wasn't successful. And the phone number was in Bulgaria. So I sent a lovely email and I said, I don't know if you know that I'm in California and my license is for California. Now, of course, I can do relationship coaching if what you need is coaching
yeah,
anywhere. And he came back
yeah.
and said, yeah, I got it. Then I said, well, have you checked, my pricing? And he said, yeah, you got a bundle? Let's sign up. I want to work with you. And I've been working with him ever since. Yeah,
Isn't it
somebody in
amazing?
the area. It's
Yeah,
it's amazing. And he said I could never have found anyone but you. And it was
yeah.
a podcast that
Uh,
created that. Beautiful.
Now, the other part for people that aspire to writing books as well, and your book is available by all the major media. Have you got a website or so that people can relate to, especially dealing with you?
Yes, and of course the book's on there as well. You can get it through Barnes& and Noble, Amazon as well. My website is www.drheatherbrowne.com. So Dr. Heather Browne with an E. And on there, you'll see how to work with me. You'll see there's a clip for my TEDx. I have courses. I have a whole lot of freebies on my freebie page, a huge press page with podcasts and TV shows. I was just recently on WPIX in New York and CBS LA, and the book, you can see it there as well. And then also, if listeners might not necessarily want to work with me, but have a question about something, please feel free to reach out. I'm a wealth of resources, as you are, John, and I
Yes.
love to try to guide people with what I know if there's something that they're needing. But I'd be
Now, the
honored, listeners.
now the other question that, and I did that with mine. I don't know if you did it with this one. Is it on Audible?
Not yet. So the publisher that I'm with is part of Simon Schuster, Post Hill Press, and
Okay.
so they have a layered. So my book's been out 2 months,
Okay.
and so we will circle back when my book has been out somewhere between 6 months and a year, and look at the sales. And as long as the sales are there, they want me to do the audio for it, of course, which I want to do. I
Yeah.
also have read the first chapter, and I have it on my YouTube channel. It's also on my TikTok channel. And so people are wanting to hear it actually read. You can go and listen to the first chapter just as a gift for people to be able to get a little feel of how I write and how I read. But
Yeah.
I'm speaking into it being on Audible later soon would be my hope, because that would be beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're a very, very good communicator, and so what I do is I do all my books. We self-publish. I do all my books. I do the Audible myself. I believe that is important. I believe it would be important in your case. I'm not telling you what to do, but would be important. I believe, at least from my opinion, be important
My
as
publisher
well.
said no one else but me can do it. I'm like, thank you.
And
And it
then
was so
the
fun. It was
And
so
then the
fun to
other
read.
part that I want to mention is that I find it such an amazing book. I hope you consider also, together with your publisher, international. There is such a big market in other languages, and your book certainly, in my opinion, because our issues are no different in the rest of the world as they are for us, and the same need for the issues that you speaking with the heart are the same issues in a lot of other people for a lot of other people in the world.
I agree, and that is certainly my and my publisher's wish. So hopefully there'll be lots of people who purchase the book. The reviews have been amazing that I've had so far on Amazon. Really glorious reviews. People saying it's already changed the relationship with their mom. One person said it saved her marriage because they're about to get divorced. So my hope is that people read it and are blessed by it, and the more people who purchase the book, the more places it will go for sure.
So the other comment on your book I was going to make, and that's the first impression as an author that I got. I like the forewords that you use, the comments that were very, very good, very effective, I believe, by very highly credible individuals. But I like the structure of the book that allows an individual to go through it, but not having to do a whole lot of searching to find issues that may be of interest to them, that will then kind of lock them in terms of the knowledge is obvious from your side, the qualifications and the issues that you speak about so open and freely, are very, very important. And obviously, your experience as a psychotherapist, qualifications, but even more importantly, the life behind it of experience is so critically important, and that is reflected in the book.
Well, and thank you for noticing that. I did that because of Google. You Google something specific and you want that information. And so my thought was, I can't have a whole book that says, read the whole book, and then in there you'll get communication, in there you'll get sex, in there at some point you're talking about money. No, 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 no. People aren't going to read 200 pages to try to
Yeah.
find it. And do I hope they read the whole book? Of course. But people might not. They might just say, I'm reading this chapter and this chapter and this chapter. So every chapter, it was important for me that it could stand on its own. There obviously is a flow and a growth, but it was for that reason, John. If someone
Yeah,
just said, I'm struggling with anxiety in my relationship, I wanted them to go, there it is. Okay,
yeah,
now what else do I want to know and
yeah.
pull back? Yeah,
It was
thank
very important in terms of structure, but the other part that it does, for all the reasons that you indicated, people are not going to go through a whole book with 400 pages to try to find something they are looking for, whatever that may be. But here, it is easy enough. You go to the chapters, you find it, you go to the book, you read it. But what it will do, I guarantee you that it will do that, is that once I read, not I, but well, maybe I as well, but that anyone that reads and then saying that will create the interest in the other sections of the book, and before you know it, they sit there and saying, "Oh, how about this? How about that?" And so it becomes a very, very valuable tool in a relationship, and and so what I say, well done, and to our guests watching us from all around the world, you can't afford not to have it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Heather, again, it was a pleasure to have you on my podcast. Let's make sure we stay in touch, keep informed. You already have my books, I presume. Did I send you my books? All my
Yes,
books?
you I
Yeah.
love them.
And when I got the other one, this one here, Living Young, Dying Old, I'm going to send you a copy of that as well.
Oh, thank you. I will love having it because I'm 60. So I am making certain that I'm moving into that place of
You
vitality out.
You look great. You are an amazing podcaster. I wish you luck. I'm watching you very closely on all the social media, and we'll stay in touch, Heather.
It is an honor. And listeners, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate you as well. Reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks, Heather. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye bye.